Hey, Daniel Clayman here, and one of the biggest questions and obstacles when it comes to development, whether you're doing small-scale build-to-rent development, single families, duplexes, or huge apartment complexes, but one of the biggest questions is always, what's the land worth? What do I pay for land? So I wanted to record this training to quickly address a very easy, fairly easy 5-step formula to figuring out the max that you can pay for land anywhere. Okay, so really quickly, my name is Daniel Clayman. I live and develop real estate in Richmond, Virginia. So I build real estate and I build software for real estate investors. There you go. That's all you need to know about me. You know, real estate development, especially if you're starting out, can seem complicated or out of reach or daunting, especially if you're talking multifamily or mixed-use development. There are a ton of moving pieces and puzzles, but it doesn't have to be complicated. The way to master anything complicated is to break it down into small or smaller, more tangible bite-sized components that you can digest easier. And once you master the basic principles behind what I'm about to show you, you can apply those principles to every single deal you see consistently, right? So most people, when they want to get into development or when they want to pivot or evolve into development, they think that they need to focus on figuring out the construction component. But that's absolutely wrong. Construction actually is fairly easy, and you hire professionals, general contractors, to do the construction for you. What you need to first learn is what's called pre-development. That's where the real estate development truly lies, is in pre-development. This is the process. What everybody sees is the building once it's fully built, right? And then you get to manage that building and cash flow. But what people don't see is all the pre-development work that happened before that building ever went vertical. That's the part of this picture. That's part of the iceberg that's below the water. You've got to find great land deals. You have to determine the right price for the land. You've got to do your due diligence. You've got to get a contract. You've got to negotiate that contract. Then you've got all the additional pre-development work that goes into it. You've got to plan the project, line up funding, and then you build it. So pre-development is where the money and profitability of deals is determined. So before you actually go vertical with the building, before you do this, you've got to master this. This is where the real development work happens, right? So we're going to look at an example. I'm going to show you how to determine the value of land for build-to-rent projects. Let's look at an example. Let's say you found a piece of land. You came across an infill lot that's zoned for up to 10 units, and they're asking $400,000 for it. Can you pay that for the land? What are you going to build on it? Will the project work? Right? Where do you start? Well, we have a deeper training on our YouTube channel that walks you back even further in the process. If you don't even know what the land is zoned for, if you don't even know what you can build on it, if you don't know how many units you can place on it, go through this training after you go through this video. The most important rule you can follow is to determine the value of vacant land. You must start with the end in mind. What can be built here, what's going to be built here, and what will that building, again, whether it be a single family or a duplex or a 200-unit building, what will it be worth? So this is the 5-step process to figure out the value of the land. First, you're going to do a quick density study and determine the unit mix and the unit size. Then you're going to determine as-built value of the building. And then you're going to subtract from that future value of the building, the sweat equity that you want to create, and the ballpark construction costs and all the soft costs. And that gets you to step number 5, which is max land price. So let's go through this 5-step process, starting with step number 1. So step number 1, zoning analysis and basic density study. A density study basically means if you know that this piece of land is zoned for 10 units, make sure that you can actually build 10 units here and have a good product. If zoning already allows 10 units, chances are you can probably fit them and build a good product, but you want to make sure even before you make your offer for the land, right? That's a good idea to verify. So here are the things that can trip you up. Bad topography. If part of the lot is so steep that it can't be developed, or it can be developed but at a much, much higher cost, and only a part of the lot is developable, then maybe you can't properly build 10 units here, right? You can typically eyeball this prior to making an offer by driving past the piece of land, looking at pictures, looking at Google Street View. But if it looks like this, it's probably going to be too expensive to develop. Or at the very least, you should factor in the additional cost to develop that piece of land into your offer price for the land. Onerous parking requirements that restrict the practical density. You can look up parking requirements for each zoning code in your county or in the city. It's publicly available information, but you can check out the zoning during your pre-offer due diligence, and then you can verify it during your pre-closing due diligence once you have an offer. But you want to make sure that there is not so much on-site parking being required in conjunction with other zoning restrictions that you will not actually fit a 10-unit building on the slot, because you will have to devote so much of it to surface parking. And if you're doing tuck under parking, your cantilevered parking, or parking under a concrete podium, it's going to add to your construction costs, and that should be factored into what you pay for the land. Easements, that's something else that can massively trip you up. If an easement goes through your property, through the land, then a part of the land cannot be developed. This is something that will come up once you already make an offer and have a contract. This will come up during your due diligence phase. You're going to perform a title search, and then if easements are revealed on the title search, you're going to have your surveyor actually plot those easements on your survey. So this is an example of a single family lot that we developed a while ago where there was an easement, but the easement didn't cut right through the lot. Easement cut through a piece of the lot, and it made this left-hand side of the lot not available for development, but we could still fit a house on it. Right, but you got to figure all this stuff out before you close on the land. And bad soil, that's factor number 4 that can massively trip you up. If there is such bad soil that you are going to need really deep footers, that may make the project cost prohibitive. If there is environmental contamination, which is really only applicable to commercial sites, but if there's environmental contamination, that will also limit or preclude your development. This is also something that you will figure out during pre-closing due diligence, not before you have a contract, right? You don't spend money to geotest the soil or perform phase 1 studies before you control the site. So this 10,000 square foot lot zoning requires 1,000 square feet per dwelling unit, right? So you need to have 1,000 square feet of land for each apartment you're going to build. The maximum lot coverage is 60%, which means that the building itself cannot take up more than 60% of the land. The rest has to be devoted to public, to green space, parking, bike storage, etc. You can go up to 35 feet in height maximum, and you need side yard setbacks of 5 feet each. Same in the front yard. And you required 1 parking space per unit. So that's what the zoning requires. And you can, again, this public information, the zoning code is publicly available, and you can look it up. So you can do this on the back of a napkin, right? You can take your site and you can say, okay, the maximum floor plate I can have is 60% of the lot, which is 6,000 square feet. 6,000 square feet times 3 floors, because you can go up 35 feet, is 18,000 square feet. I don't need that much for 10 apartments. So you know you can fit a building here. And then step 2 is you want to make sure that there are no other constraints that will massively reduce the size of your building to where you can now actually fit 10 units on here. So you've made sure that the site is relatively flat. There's no crazy parking requirements. You can fit parking on here. And then you will check for easements and bad soil and existence of wetlands after you already have a contract. Right? So your density study verified you can build a 10-unit building. Topo looks okay. Only 10 spaces are required. So you're good to go. Now that you know you can build a 10-unit building here, you've got to determine the future value of this building when it's built and leased out. So here are the 5 steps to determining as-built value of the building. You're going to determine your unit mix out of these 10 units, how many are studios, ones, twos, threes. You're going to determine unit size. You're going to run rental comps and build a pro forma. You're going to calculate your projected net operating income. And then you're going to take what's called a market cap rate, and you're going to apply that to your annual net operating income to determine the future as-built value. Now, that may sound complicated, but I'm going to break it down into steps for you. So, determining your unit mix. This is where market knowledge really comes in handy. Your unit mix is going to be constrained by the size of your building. If you can only build 10 units and you only have a certain amount of square footage and you want to build all 5-bedroom units, you probably won't have enough space. So understanding the constraints of the building, but also market knowledge as to what kind of product is in demand in your area. Is there a lot of demand for studios? Is there a lot of demand for ones? Is there a lot of demand for twos? And that goes beyond the scope of this training, but you should have market knowledge. You should have a clear understanding of what is in demand in your market. What supply is most lacking in this market? For example, where I am currently building a lot of apartments, most of what is being built is studios and 1-bedrooms. And I know that there is very serious, consistent demand for nice 2-bedroom apartments. So if I can fit more 2-bedroom apartments in this building, I'm going to fit more 2-bedroom apartments. The reason why you're seeing mostly studios and 1-bedrooms being built is they will typically drive higher dollar per foot income than larger units. And that's why you see big apartment buildings going up with mostly studios and ones and very few twos. So unit size, same thing. Market knowledge here helps. You can build what's typical for your market. You can build average size. You can build bigger to offer a differentiated product, so that hopefully if there's oversaturation in your market, your bigger units compared to the competition stay rented. You can build smaller if you want to make your units more affordable than the competition, right? You can reduce the size of your studios and ones and twos to be smaller than the average in the market if that's going to allow you to keep your price points down. Me personally, I don't like competing on price in the marketplace, so I typically don't build smaller than the market, but again, that's up to you. So we're going to do this analysis, and we're going to determine that we're going to put 7 1-bedroom, 1-bath units here at 650 square feet, which is average for the market, and 3 2-bedroom, 2-bath units here at 1,000 square feet. Again, average for the market. So we've determined our unit mix, we've determined our unit size, and now we need to run rental comps for those unit types, and we need to build a pro forma. What kind of income will this property generate when it's built and leased, and what kind of expenses on the operating side is it going to have? That's going to give us the projected net operating income for the property, and then we can use that to determine the as-built value. So if that seems like a tall order, I'm going to show you a way to shortcut that process really, really easily. So we're going to flip over to Rehab Valuator Premium. This is a tool that you may or may not have seen before, but this is my software that I've built in order to do just these kinds of deals, along with wholesaling, fix and flipping. And I started a new deal, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go, instead of flip, I'm going to click here to rent and enter. I'm going to build my pro forma. So we're going to build 7 1-bedroom units, average of 650 square feet, and 3 2-bedroom units, average 1,000 square feet. And you will see little buttons that pop up here that say comps. And this is something that we recently added to the software. We're sourcing national rental comps data. This is really good quality data. And so now all I have to do is click comps. And here are my comps for my 1-bedroom units. All right. I'm going to close the gap on the distance a little bit. I'm going to only pull up ones with square footage, and I'm going to filter down a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the big ones. And I'm going to filter down the square feet. And here's my average, but I'm also going to sort these by price, select all of them, and I'm going to get rid of the outliers because I know that these are not new construction properties, right? I only want to look at stuff above $1,000 because, again, I know my market, and I know that anything under $1,000 in this day and age, it's simply not new construction. So here's my average. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click Include in Presentation, and now here are my selected one-bedroom comps organized here. All right, and I can see that they're averaging $1.86 a foot and 1,300 square feet. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to say my average monthly rent is going to be $1,275 because these are just a little bit smaller than the average. And now I need two-bedroom comps. I'm going to click Comps. And now it creates a separate tab here. You can see separate tab for two-bedroom apartments. Same thing, I'm going to get rid of really large ones. And I'm going to get rid of ones that don't have square footage or that are too small. And I'm going to sort these by price. They're already sorted. And again, I'm going to get rid of the small ones because I know that anything under $1,400 is simply not new construction. And so now I can see my average dollar per foot is $1.64. I'm going to include these in my database. So average square feet is 1,028, which is what mine are. Ours is 1,000, and average rent is 1,702. And now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to enter 1,700 for average monthly rent of my two bedrooms. And there you go, my pro-forma is built, right? At least my operating income is built. This building is going to be 7,550 square feet, not including common areas, which the way we design our small apartment buildings, we really don't have common areas. Monthly rent roll, annual rent roll. And now I need to build my operating expenses. Now I can go in here and I can fully itemize my operating expenses. But to save time on the first go around, what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to take this and say plug for 33% operating expenses. And I'm going to make this monthly number 1/3 of my operating income. Your operating expenses for these types of buildings should fall somewhere between 30 and 35%. And these are my operating expenses. So now you can see operating income, operating expenses, net operating income. So now the last step is to determine the as-built value. The as-built value, which goes here, is going to be computed by taking the net operating income on the monthly basis, multiplying it by 12, and then dividing it by a market cap rate. So I'm simply going to click here, and I'm going to say use a 5% cap rate to give me my projected ABV. Now, the market cap rates will usually come from your local market data. At what cap rates are similar properties either selling, or if not a lot of them are selling, at what cap rate are these properties being appraised? Your best bet is to call one of the bankers you're dealing with, or call a bunch of them and say, hey, this is the type of project I'm getting to work on, I'm getting started on. You're seeing appraisals come back now for deals that are similar to your financing. Are these being appraised right now at a 5 cap, at a 6 cap, at a 7 cap? And they're going to tell you. So we're going to use 5% cap rate. So this is our projected as-built value. And now we need to back out the cost of construction. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to construction budget. And now remember, our building is 7,500 square feet. So we're going to say it's going to cost me $200 a foot to build this. Let's be conservative, right? So $7,500, 7,500 square feet times $200 a foot is $1.5 million. Now you have ability here to create detailed budgets. I can go in here and I can load in one of the templates that we supply you with. Multifamily new construction template, right? And you can build out detailed budgets here. But for now, we're just going to ballpark and we're going to say 1.5 million. And then I'm simply going to click on my max offer calculator and I'm going to say, if I want to build 80% sweat equity, this is my construction budget. I'll have, $10,000 in closing costs, and I'm going to zero out my holding costs here because they're part of my budget. What's the max I can pay for land? Well, there you go. They're asking $400,000, but if you pay $400,000, you're going to overpay. The most you can pay is actually $296,000. But here's the thing. If I now start to factor in financing into the equation, cost of money is going to add to my cost. So now if I say I want to finance 90% of cost at a 7% interest rate, and construction is going to take me 12 months, what happens to the most I can pay for land? $205,000. So once you factor in your cost of money into the equation, the most you can pay is actually $205,000. If you overpay for land, you're not going to be able to create your 20% sweat equity. I hope this makes sense. Post in the comments if this does not compute for you. But now, what if I can go and I can value engineer this building and I can build it for $1.4 million? Now I'm able to pay more for land. But this is the kind of analysis you have to perform to make sure that you are not overpaying for land. All right, let's go back to our slides here. So I just showed you how to easily create rental comps, generate rental comps instantly, build your pro forma with your projected operating income and expenses, and then back into the maximum that you can pay for land, right? This is the process. You back out the equity that you want to create. You back out your ballpark construction costs and soft costs, which include closing, financing, holding costs, and that gets you to the max land price. So this is the formula. ABV, as built value, minus desired sweat equity, minus construction costs, minus closing, holding, financing costs, gives you the maximum land price that you can pay, right? So in this example, we concluded that our ABV is $2,257,000, minus 20% desired sweat equity is $451,000, minus ballpark construction costs of $1.5 million, and then all of our soft costs, which mostly were financing costs. It's very important not to ignore roughly what your cost of money will be. Got us to a maximum land price of $205,000. They were asking $400,000. Can you pay $400,000? No. Now, what can you do if this is an amazing site? What can you do if this is just an incredible piece of land and they will only come down to $350,000? Do you walk away from this deal? Well, again, maybe you can value engineer the construction and build it cheaper. Maybe you're willing to accept less than 20% sweat equity initially. We do some projects right now where my initial sweat equity in the project is only 12 to 15%, and I'm okay with that because it's still wealth that I'm creating, right? So maybe this 20% becomes 12% or 15%. You could probably pay $350,000 for that land. If we go back to our max offer formula and then we say, I'm willing to accept 85%. Well, now, meaning I'm okay with 15% sweat equity. Well, now I can pay $310,000. And again, I do some projects where we're at 88% right now. I'm okay on bigger deals creating initially only 12% sweat equity because then it's going to grow. That 12% is going to grow as my tenants pay down the mortgage, as rents grow and the property appreciates. That's okay. If I'm willing to accept a lower margin, I can now pay $372,000 for this land. You see where I'm going? So, here's the important takeaway. This gets you the absolute max price that you can pay, but your analysis isn't done here for the build-to-rent projects. There are additional steps that you must perform to make sure that the deal will work. You have to evaluate your short-term financing based on your constraints and loan options. You have to evaluate your permanent financing and what that will look like. You have to determine how much permanent debt the deal can support, how much cash you'll have to leave in the deal, what kind of cash on cash return that cash is going to earn. And you may need to adjust your offer on your land down from there. Again, I'm going to link here to a deeper training that goes through that whole process. I highly recommend you watch it. But before I end this video, let me show you one more thing, because you're going to need funding. So what I did in the software is I actually went in and I itemized our operating expenses, which doesn't take long to do, and we have training that shows you how to do it. And I've got my scenario, my financing scenario modeled here. And again, the deeper training that I linked to shows you how to determine the maximum amount of money that you'll be able to borrow. But this is what we do in order to get construction loans, and we've used this for up to $20 million, and so have our clients. You can use this for single families, you can use this for duplexes, you can use this for small projects, for big projects, you can use this for BRRRR deals or for new construction. I'm going to click on reports, and I'm going to click construction and perm loan funding presentation, and I'm going to add comparable rentals report here. And I'm going to click generate. And the software will generate a unique funding presentation for me. And I can copy this little link and literally email this to my bankers. We do this and it secures us high LTV loans consistently from our lenders. You can use this for private lenders, hard money lenders, and banks. But this is what I'm going to send. This is what I'm going to send to my lender. First of all, there's an executive summary that tells them about the deal and about our background in the market, right? And they can literally, inside the executive summary, they can zoom in on the area. They can go to Street View. They can enlarge this map. Here's my pro forma, right? Hey, Mr. Lender, this is the projected rents that we are forecasting. Here are the projected expenses that we are forecasting, the projected operating expenses, all laid out. And here is my short-term funding and long-term funding summary. I want to borrow $1.15 million. I'm calculating the as-built value based on a 5% cap rate. The deal will take 14 months. And then this loan will actually roll right over into a permanent loan with a debt coverage of 1.35. Like, this is what our short-term and permanent lenders want to see. It makes us look incredibly professional. And then look, here's a comparable rentals report. Oh, hi there, look at this. I am not only giving them my pro forma that says my rents will be X and X for ones and twos, but here are comparable rents data that backs up my numbers. And hey, here's some additional pictures with finishes that we plan to have in this building. I can pull this from previous projects. I can pull this from other projects in the area that have been completed that are similar to what we're going to build. But now my lender sees every number in the deal they want to see, and I look incredibly credible. And for bonus points, if you really want to blow your lenders away, you can go and you can itemize your construction budget, which I've done here. And now when your lender sees this presentation, not only are they going to see what I just showed you, but they're also going to see an itemized construction budget. This makes getting funding a breeze from our lenders, and it all comes inside Rehab Valuator Premium, and it's super easy to use, and we have tutorials in every step of the way. So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We've got a ton of other in-depth training on our YouTube channel on real estate development. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what questions you have, and share this video. And lastly, if you do not have Rehab Valuator Premium yet, here's a link at the bottom where you can take a fully featured test drive for 14 days for just $1. You're going to get nationwide rental comps, nationwide sales comps, pre-built cost templates and scopes of work, full-scale professional deal analysis, dynamic lender proposals that I just showed you. You're going to get our full, simple-to-use construction project management suite, and a whole lot more. This is a software that we use for every development that we do, and so do thousands of clients. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of these testimonials from our clients that absolutely love this product, right? This product is hands down the best. Necessity for all rehabbers and builders. Rehab Value rocks. Excellent software. It's what every investor needs. Etc. 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 We have an impeccable online reputation. We take amazing care of our clients. So go to rehabvalue.com/try or click the link below this video and sign up. Grab the software. You're going to get a bunch of real estate education bonuses. You're going to get instant access to the software, and everything that I just showed you in this training, plus a ton more, is going to be yours instantly. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching.